Awesome. Well, Dave, thanks so much for joining me today. Going to be great to have a little conversation here and dig into the world of tech and AI. But before we get started, would love to hear some of your kind of background and career journey and help anyone listening to this understand who you are and where you've come from.
Well, thanks so much, Daniel. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me here. So again, my name is David Itzkovits. I'm talking to you today from Boston, Massachusetts, here in the United States. But my story, I would say, is not just really around financial services and AI, but it starts with family and really an immigrant mindset. I was born in Canada to two immigrant parents that essentially came to Canada with nothing. And like many immigrants, they worked 6 days a week so they can save enough money and start their own business. And when they did that, they went from working 6 days a week to 7 days a week. So that work ethic sort of shaped everything I've done in my career. I have, my MBA, my CFA, all my work experience comes from this mindset of you have to do it. You have to do it better than everybody else. And that's what led me into a career in wealth management at a large Canadian bank. And then an opportunity came to move to New York, which for most Canadians is like moving to the center of the universe. So I jumped at it. And that's how I started working in financial services, and particularly in private banking, in sort of a global financial hub, which was obviously an incredible experience.
And along that journey, any significant kind of milestones?
It's interesting. I would say that, there was an overlooked investment solution that really changed my career. And I didn't even work for the solution provider. But
Oh,
while
wow.
I was working as a private banker in New York, I noticed that there was an international investment solution that no one was really selling. It was kind of misunderstood. And working at the private bank, we had a bi-weekly meeting where VPs, it was called the VP Roundtable, where their VP would share a solution or a product that they really liked to sort of teach the other VPs on the floor.
Mm.
So I started explaining the solution to my colleagues during this sort of bi-weekly roundtable session. And we ended up moving from $1 million of sales a month to $10 million of sales a month. So the CEO of the company that created the product reached out to me. And I thought we were just having an innocent conversation about what worked, what I liked, what could be improved. But it seemed like instead he offered me a job. And that took me from working in private banking into the world of international financial solutions.
Wow.
So the financial crisis then hit, and that same CEO started a company and asked me to be one of the first 8 people on board. And then 3 years later, we were acquired by this company called Sanlam, which is a South African financial giant. And part of that acquisition, I became part of Sanlam. I was a head of investments for that division that acquired us. And then 5 years later, I became CEO of that division. So I ended up leading global sales for the entire investment cluster, trying to grow the business significantly.
Yeah. Wow. And I know Sanlam is a name that some will be familiar with, but they're kind of 100,000 plus staff globally. How big was sort of your division there in investment sales? Like what kind of headcount?
So the investments cluster had a few thousand people.
Yeah.
And my group was really at the forefront of expanding global sales. So yes, Sanlam is over 100 years old. It operates in 31 countries, but many of those countries are in the African market. And my role was to grow sales in the Middle East and in Asia and the Americas and Latin America and in Europe, right? So really, I expanded the tentacles of Sanlam into all these regions that Sanlam, for the most part, didn't even have a presence.
Yeah. Wow. Wow, I'm sure there's many fascinating stories in that journey of expansion as well. But hey, for the purpose of today's chat, I would love to hear about how you got focused on AI. And I know you started before it was cool, before it was a buzzword, before most people sort of knew AI was coming. So tell me a little bit of that. How did you first get exposed to it? When did you kind of think we really need to be looking at this? And yeah, what's your story with AI?
Yeah, and you're spot on with that question. AI wasn't really even on my radar until it saved my clients' portfolios. So in
Wow.
2017, we integrated an AI engine into our investment process in my division. And the AI made weekly decisions on strategic and tactical asset allocation. So early after launch, something pretty incredible happened where the AI deallocated just before the market dropped and then reallocated right before it rebounded. So it outperformed really everyone's expectations. And this caught
Wow.
kind of global attention because who's this South African company that's using an AI model that's suddenly performing like tremendously well? And because I
Mm.
was head of investments of the division, I became the spokesperson for the AI solution. And in that role, and later as CEO, I traveled the world explaining how this AI solution worked. So since 2017, I've spoken on every continent, except for Antarctica, about AI's role in financial services and how it can be leveraged in investment management. And then in 2023, after selling the division, I ran for Sanlam. I started thinking about my next move, and my co-founder for my current company introduced me to the early Gen I use cases for financial professionals. So really what I saw
Mm.
blew my mind. There were just all these interesting investment tools and ways that you could use AI. AI was actually reshaping how an advisor worked or a financial professional worked, saving them
Mm.
hours every single week. And the more that we talked, the more I realized that every financial professional around the globe needed to understand how these tools worked. And that's why we launched Optimal Advisor AI in early 2024. And since then, it's been an incredible ride.
Yeah, wow. And that kind of that AI performance, where it was able to predict kind of the movement of the markets, get in, get out at the right time. Did that hold consistent? Was it able to do that on a fairly consistent kind of basis with the information you were feeding into it?
You know, it's really interesting. There's a belief that AI, because it's AI and can assimilate, so much more information than a human can, there's this expectation that the AI needs to get it right like 80 or 90% of the time. But the
Mm.
truth is that our AI engine only got it right about 55% of the time, meaning
Mm.
that it would call to be allocated to the market, but the market potentially would decline for that week, or it'd be deallocated to the market and the market would increase that week, right? So that's getting it wrong. Versus you're
Mm.
allocated to the market very strongly and the market rises, and you're deallocated from the market and the market falls. But even when you get that right 55% of the time, and more importantly, the times when you get it wrong, you don't get it wrong by much. That's where you get
Mm.
significant outperformance. So it wasn't
Mm.
that we had to get every week right. But when you put a number of those weeks and months and years together, that's what really created the outperformance.
Yeah, and I know in trading, it is those things of how you can, be right just slightly more often than you're wrong, and have those right decisions, even when to pull out of those, and wrong decisions, when to stop that loss, and it makes a huge difference to the portfolio.
Oh, 100%.
So then around opportunities as you see it in the funds management industry, what are those opportunities for innovation and adoption around AI right now?
Yeah. So AI in the funds management isn't just about efficiency, it's about making better decisions and making them faster, right? So right
Mm.
now, I would say the biggest opportunities probably fall into three main areas. The first is portfolio management and risk optimization. So AI can obviously analyze huge amounts of market data in real time, identifying patterns that humans might miss. So it can
Mm.
adjust portfolios dynamically based on evolving conditions, right?
Mm.
Reducing risk while improving returns. And we saw this firsthand in 2017 when our AI engine made the right early calls to de-risk before a downturn and obviously reallocate before a rally. And that type of precision is only possible with AI. A human manager can't move from one week to the next to deallocate completely out of a portfolio and reallocate, right? They're often married to their positions. So
Yeah.
that's the first area of opportunity. The second,
Mm.
I would say, is probably personalization at scale. So traditionally, portfolio strategies have been broad based, right? Grouping clients into standardized models. AI changes that by analyzing client behavior, preferences, and risk tolerance, AI-driven models can create really hyper-personalized investment strategies at scale. So instead of managing 10 model portfolios, an advisor could oversee 1,000 customized ones with
Wow.
AI-driven adjustments. And I would say the third area is operational efficiency and cost reduction. Obviously, AI can automate tasks that eat up valuable time, compliance monitoring or data reconciliation or client reporting, right? This reduces costs, minimizes human error by applying AI. It frees up a person's time to focus on strategy rather than back office work. So the more firms that are recognizing that AI doesn't replace humans, but enhances what they can do. So where the AI adoption will probably happen first is you've seen it already in quantitative and systematic strategies. AI is already being integrated there.
Yeah.
But now you're going to start to see probably hybrid human AI models and regulatory and compliance functions. Really, the firms that embrace AI won't just gain efficiency, they'll gain an edge, right? AI isn't a futuristic concept in funds management. It's already reshaping how investment decisions are made.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And so then you've seen these opportunities for innovation. Are there any areas in funds management where you actually feel like AI isn't going to be significantly beneficial?
Where it will not be significantly beneficial
Mm.
in funds management. So what we talk about is, it's interesting that we get the question all the time is, will AI replace me in multiple roles?
Mm-hmm.
And what we say is that it's not humans versus AI, but it's humans with AI versus humans without. So there are certain key things that an AI cannot do. It cannot connect with people, right? That's not what it does independently, right? You need
Yeah.
humans for that. So those types of roles will never be replaced. But what we often talk about with people is you won't be replaced by an AI solution, but you will be replaced by someone who knows how to leverage these AI models if you don't know it. And that's why it's very much an arms race around learning how to best utilize these models to the best of your ability.
Mm. Yeah, that's a great kind of snapshot on that, I think. People learning to use it, learning to upskill themselves, be able to do simple tasks faster and get to kind of the higher level of task. I think that's going to be where you're finding the most value.
It's so important. It's literally,
Mm.
we're at a nexus right now where in 12 months from now, you're going to
Mm.
have the people that are using these AI models, and you're going to have the people that are not using these AI models. And the difference between what people that can use these AI models can do is just going to be transformative comparative to the other group. And the challenge is that it's not just starting to learn in 12 months from now. You need to start learning now because these
Mm.
AI tools are evolving at such a tremendous
Mm.
rate. It's the idea of the 10,000 hour rule, right? If
Yeah.
you start to spend hours doing something, and as an example, I've spent just in the last year almost 4,000 hours with these AI models. So I understand them
Wow.
intimately in a way that someone who has not used these models before wouldn't understand. And that just means as new tools come out, I'm better positioned to more effectively use them. But in
Mm.
fact, that's why we created this company, because that's what we're trying to essentially teach and train our clients to be able to do.
Awesome. So let's jump into that. How does your company help financial services professionals, fund managers, wealth managers, whoever that is, drive adoption, build confidence, figure out how to use AI better, whether it's ChatGPT or Copilot or whatever it is? How do you guys actually help and solve for that?
Sure. So every financial professional we meet says the same thing. I want to use AI, but I'm not necessarily sure where to start. Or I've
Mm.
just started using AI, but I know I'm not using it as effectively as I could. And that's exactly why we started Optimal Advisor AI. Over the past year, we've worked with thousands of financial professionals worldwide, mostly here in the United States, but in other regions as well. And we work exclusively in financial services, and we work with different types of roles: advisors, asset managers, investment bankers, and they all face the same challenge. AI is evolving at a faster rate than anyone expected. I mean, you
Mm,
see new tools launched almost daily, and it's hard
mm,
to separate what's useful from what's just hype. No one has
mm,
time to stay on top of it all, and essentially that's where my team and I come in. We simplify AI, we act as our clients' AI learning partner, but we don't touch theory. We focus on real world use cases and applications that deliver immediate impact. So we're built for financial professionals. We focus only on financial services. We don't do other verticals like legal. We tailor our AI workflows for advisors or asset managers, investment bankers, and we address compliance concerns up front, making it easier for those compliance groups to help us bring us in to work with their teams. And essentially, what we're trying to do is fast track AI adoption. So we move people
mm,
from knowledge acquisition to knowledge application. So instead of
mm.
overwhelming professionals with possibilities, we focus on actions. What are the five, 5 to 7 things you can do tomorrow to save 1 to 5 hours a week? How can we
Yeah.
help you better connect with your clients? How can we help you improve your sales? And it's been a great ride, working with these financial professionals. AI isn't the future, it's happening now. And the firms that
Mm.
embrace it today will lead tomorrow.
Yeah, that's a great line. It's a great line. I like that one. And so in terms of that journey and working alongside businesses, is there a certain kind of size or scale of organization that you work with and are seeing the most benefit from? Like, is this most useful at like a 20 staff level, a 200, a 2000, kind of what's the sort of organization that can really benefit from the work that you do?
Yeah, no, I mean, we work from Fortune 500 companies to small
Mm,
independent RIAs, obviously in a different way. We have a B2B model where we work with firms. So, as an example, one firm that we're currently in contracts with is to teach, 28,000 advisors how to basically, their
oh,
whole
wow.
network around how to use AI, right? So, we're
Yeah.
building essentially modules for them. Um, Another group that has 2,000 advisors, right? How do you get them more effective? It's all really about, the biggest challenge in AI itself is effective AI adoption, right? Financial
Mm,
professionals want training, but they're not getting it. There's a
yeah.
recent McKinsey report where 48% of employees say that training is the most important factor to use AI effectively, but nearly half feel that they're not getting enough support. And what ends up
Mm,
happening is that they're using AI under the radar. So employees are using, there are a lot of compliance constraints in
mm,
organizations, particularly large organizations. But what ends up happening is these people are going at home and they're using, as an example, ChatGPT on their personal computers at home to try and do some of their work. And they're
yeah.
using it 3 times more than leaders actually think, which actually
Wow.
creates a compliance risk. So we often go to compliance departments. It's like, look, if you don't work with us or a different training company, understand that your team is going to start using these models in a way that potentially you don't want. So let's get ahead of it. Let's be proactive and train them effectively.
Mm, mm. And that's probably my experience from people I'm chatting to and talking about AI. I'm finding it's a lot of people using it, but not really within the corporate structure. They've just sort of figured out I can write this document a lot faster with Copilot, or I can write this email much quicker, or I can figure things out for myself and I'm learning to integrate it, but it's not a sort of top down approach. And it's interesting to note the compliance risks that come along with someone just kind of going, oh, I'm going to figure it out this way. And, who knows which AI they model and how reliable that model is.
No, 100%. I think what ends up happening is that when ChatGPT first came out, it overwhelmed compliance departments, right? They just weren't
Mm,
sure how it worked, what were the rules. They didn't have an AI policy around it. There's always two main compliance concerns: that you're going to input, client private information into an AI
yeah.
model, or that the AI model might produce information that might be incorrect, hallucinate, and that you
Yes.
might rely on a hallucinated information to come out and provide information to a client. So obviously we talk a lot with our financial professionals about how to get past those two issues. But
Yeah.
because people aren't necessarily resistant to AI because you see them using it in a private setting, the challenge is they are overwhelmed by it. What ends up happening is a lot of firms, as an example, they'll turn on Microsoft Copilot to their entire group. And they think, hey, we've given our group AI. The challenge is that people see the Copilot, but they don't touch it. They don't know how to use it. They don't know how to use it effectively, so they're just not using it at all. What you end up seeing more likely is people are using it in a private environment, and they're not usually using Copilot. They're probably using ChatGPT. So again, what we focus on is real world applications. All of our clients, while we're tool agnostic, we don't have our own AI technology. We're an AI learning partner. We teach our clients to use the AI tool of their choice, but it usually falls into just one of two buckets. It's either Microsoft Copilot or ChatGPT Enterprise for our larger clients. Our small independent, as an example, financial advisors, we're teaching them on sort of the ChatGPT free or paid versions.
And you
Sorry.
mentioned, no, that's okay. You
Go
you
ahead.
mentioned for a moment there the idea of the unreliability of AI, and you used the word hallucinations. Can you
Mm-hmm.
just unpack what that is, and I guess how organizations deal with that?
Yeah, so it's definitely a challenge, and the truth is that AI can hallucinate. It often can get things wrong, but there's a number of strategies that you can use and that we teach in over multiple courses how to do. So let me give you a few easy ones, right?
Mm,
And there's this classic example here in the United States where a lawyer went to an AI model and said, "Give me the justifications from a legal perspective. Give me past precedent of
mm.
legal cases that I can use for this case." And AI cited a number of use cases, right? A number of cases, and he sent that to the judge, and the judge looked at for all these cases, and they didn't exist, right? The AI hallucinated. But
Oh,
here's a
wow.
simple example of how you get past something like that: is as you're prompting the AI engine, as you're giving it instructions, there are ways to make sure that the information that it's giving you is correct. Here's a simple one: give me the URL to back up the information that you're giving me, right? So now,
Mm,
if it was going to give you information, it would show you the underlying URL where it got that information from. So that's an easy
mm,
one. Here's another simple example that we teach. The AI comes out with a recommendation. You want to push back on that recommendation. Make sure that you really understand. And what you could say is defend your answer. Explain to me why you chose, as an example, if we're working with investment banking clients, you chose a discount rate of 7%. Well, defend your
mm,
answer. Why did you choose a discount rate of 7% for the automobile industry? And then it will often just break down how it got that thinking. So it's explaining its thought process to you in real time. So these are sort of the real world applications that we teach how to use. And again, what we do is we try to make it industry specific. So
mm.
this is not generic AI training. We tailor each and every one of our trainings to our underlying clients. So if they are an asset management firm, what we're teaching their PMs or their sales teams to do or their marketing teams to do is very different than what we're teaching, as an example, an advisory firm or investment banking firm.
Mm. Yeah, it's fascinating, and how the AI gets off track like that. And your story about the lawyer is so much better than mine. But I was at one of my daughter's friends was having a birthday party, and we went there, and there was this. It was on like a worksheet for children, like it was a drawing sheet. It was a crossword puzzle, but it was missing half the clues. And so we were trying to figure it out and use ChatGPT to kind of backfill information and kind of go, we know this is the theme. Third letter is this. Eighth letter is this. What word is it? And it gave us a word. And my mate starts writing it in. And then he goes, hang on, the word doesn't fit. And we had
And
told it, we thought it was a fairly easy fix for a chat GPT. And chat GPT let us down and we completely stuffed up the crossword.
but you know what's really funny about that story? What When I end up speaking with clients, a lot of times they'll be like, "Yeah, but I entered this information into ChatGPT. I asked this question, and the output that they gave me was incorrect." But often what we end up finding is that AI is only as good as the instructions that you give it. And that's
Mm,
why understanding how to prompt effectively is so important. That's a
mm,
skill that everyone needs to learn. Often we use an analogy that AI is like this assistant, right? It's not here to do your work for you, it's to do your work with you, right? As a
yeah.
partner, as an assistant. But when you think of an assistant, you think about you have to tell an assistant what it needs to do. You have this all power of assistant that's read everything on the internet, it knows everything, and you're just going to give it instructions, it's going to go out. But what ends up happening is you're not training your assistant. It's you that needs training about how to speak to your assistant effectively. So what we're often doing is we focus on three main ideas: helping our clients save time, enhance client connection, or drive growth. And the way we deliver that is through showing them use cases. And our use cases always fall into four main buckets: content consumption, right? Taking in information, PDFs, PowerPoints, articles, information. Content creation, emails, marketing tools, etc. Business development, so we focus on how you can not only connect with your current clients, but grow and find new clients. And then productivity tools. How do we get your team to work better, smarter, faster? And what's interesting about the productivity tools is that's something that really only comes with working, thousands of hours with these models. You start to understand how they think and how they work. And those productivity tools are incredibly important. If I'm going to use an analogy, imagine trying to navigate an unfamiliar city that you've never been to before without GPS, right? You can waste a lot of time. You'll get wrong turns. You'll struggle, right, to get the most efficient route to your destination. We're kind of the GPS. We guide our clients and our clients' firms, learning, adoption, right? How to get better AI outputs, how to use the AI to improve the AI output, and getting them to really start to feel not only kind of hesitant around how to use this, but how to feel enthusiastic and to start using it on a daily basis.
Yeah, it's great you pick up those three areas: the save time, enhance client connections, drive growth. From either of those three buckets, have you got a really specific example you could share with us?
Sure. So I talked about use cases, right? So let's talk
Mm,
about real world applications along the four areas around content consumption, content creation. And you'll see as I'm describing it, it can apply either to saving time, enhancing client connection, or driving growth. Content consumption, right? So AI tools can help a financial professional summarize research reports, earning calls, regulatory documents, PowerPoint presentations. It can
mm,
extract key insights from PDFs and presentations in seconds. So here's an example for an advisory. Often advisors are presented with fact sheets and 60-page
yeah,
PowerPoint presentations. You don't
yeah.
have time to read a 60-page PowerPoint presentation. But what you can do is you can throw both of those things into AI and you can better understand, what is this product doing? Where does it fit into my client's portfolio?
Mm,
So that's content consumption. Let's talk about content creation. So
mm,
AI can improve communication efficiency, and that's probably one of the low-hanging fruits that some people are using it for. As an example, better emails, right?
yeah,
Or how do I write a better client report or an investment commentary, right?
yeah,
How do I generate better marketing content and presentations faster? And we show people how to do that with AI. And
yeah.
then on the business development side, now this is the kicker because here's where we often say that the business development pays for everything that you're learning with us, because how do you not only connect with your current clients, but how do you find new prospects in less
Mm,
time? How do you personalize the outreach based on a client's potential interest or market conditions? How do you connect with someone you've never met with? How do you learn more about them? So let me give you an example. If you were trying to meet me for the first time,
mm,
how would you learn about me today? You would probably go to my LinkedIn profile and you read about my
mm,
LinkedIn. But
yeah,
what you can do is you can go to an AI model and say, hey, listen, I'm meeting with David Itzkovits, co founder of Optimal Advisor AI. Give me three things that stand out about his professional background, but give me three things about him personally. Maybe,
Mm.
how can I connect with him on a personal level? And what's interesting is if you do that, you might learn interesting things about that person. We actually did run it on myself, and it
Mm.
knew that I was like a fanatic with regards to like ultra marathon running, and I do
Uh,
crazy physical challenges. It picked
uh,
up on that because I was written about in a paper, right? So if you were meeting me for the first time, and let's say you were a long distance runner as well, you could
mm.
say, "Hey, David, I heard that you're a long distance runner. I'm a long distance runner as well. That's so interesting."
Mm.
And if I am a high net worth client, and let's say you're an advisor and you're trying to get my business, who am I most likely to connect with but someone that knows more about me and is able to tell more about me on a personal level versus just professionally?
Mm. Mm. And ironically, on our first phone call, up popped your little photo of you sitting on Table Mountain with Lion's Head in the background. I've sat in that same spot. I've been there on Table Mountain, and I was like, "Oh, Dave," and we had a great little connection over Cape Town and mutual time spent in South Africa. So it would have been helpful if I could have used an AI bot to figure that out. But fortunately, WhatsApp had a nice photo for me, so I'll go
You
off
did
that.
it. You did it the old-fashioned human way, and it worked perfectly, right? And we spent probably 15 minutes just talking about that, and that
Mm.
already connected us in a way that beyond obviously just being here for this podcast, it made us friends, and we even talked about maybe trying to do something in the future together around that. Who knows?
Awesome. Well, Dave, that's the crux of what I wanted to get at today. It's been a fascinating conversation, and I'm really excited to see your business grow and maybe bring it to Australia. I don't know if you're planning to kind of do any business development in Australia, but I know there's a lot of businesses that are crying out for this. Even at a personal note, I'm on the board of a school. And we're trying to write an AI policy, and sort of where we started 12 months ago trying to write this policy and where we're at now, watching how it's shifting, watching the adoption, trying to help our high school students in particular figure out how to use AI, when not to use AI, what you need to learn, how to function in this new world has been an absolute nightmare. So I might call you in as a subject matter expert at some point.
So you know what? Really funny story about that is that
Mm,
I have a son and a daughter. My daughter's in middle school. My son's in high school, and both
yep.
schools have asked me to come in and talk to them about AI. And I've actually done quite. While we only focus in financial services, I actually
Mm,
have done quite a bit of work just because I'm on the board of one of the schools around
yeah.
AI in education. I think I can actually help you a lot with that because I've actually put together some of these presentations already. So I think I could
Awesome.
maybe be beneficial, and I'm happy to do it. Let me know, and if you need me to come and present to your team for to your school for 20 minutes or half an hour, I'm happy to do it. But
Oh, that'd be
we are
amazing.
working we
That
are
would be
working with
amazing.
some large groups in Australia. Obviously, always
Yep.
looking to expand further, but happy to do it. Maybe you know what? I'd love to be able to give some advice to maybe some of your listeners around AI and how to think about
Mm,
it a little bit, if that helps.
mm,
So the advice I would probably give people is that there is a significant ROI when it comes to AI and the value of learning AI. So we've actually measured this as a tangible impact. So let me just give you a rough example. Let's say you earn $1 million a year, right? Just from a time perspective, if you could save 1 to 5 hours a week, from a soft dollar perspective, that's the same as saving like $25,000 to $125,000 in time. But from a
right.
time perspective, that's 1.5 to 6.5 weeks a year. So imagine
Mm,
scaling that not just for you. What could you do with an extra 1.5 to 6.5 weeks a year? You could spend it with your family. You could spend it at the gym, or you could spend it
mm,
at work doing more business development, right? So
mm,
that
mm,
has a huge value and productivity to people. But AI isn't something that you learn once and you move on. It's a continuous process. So my advice to people is don't go at it alone. It doesn't matter if you work
yeah.
with us or another expert. What matters is having a trusted partner who can fast track your learning. So the
Mm,
reality is you could spend thousands of hours figuring out AI on your own, or you could partner with someone who's already done all the hard work and in just 1 hour start to save 1 to 5 hours a week. Return on investment in learning AI is unlike anything that we've ever seen before in our lives. The time saved is exponential, the efficiency gained is immediate, the impact on decision making, on client engagement is really transformative. So the traditional skills, the learning curve that we all grew up, right, where you learn and payoff is gradual, it doesn't
Mm,
work that same way with AI. With AI, the
mm.
output, more time, better decisions, greater growth, is magnitudes larger than the resources, the time, and investment that you put in. So start now, stay curious, don't try to figure it out alone.
Yeah, fantastic final thoughts to leave us with, Dave. Dave, I so appreciate your time and all that you've done unpacking AI for us. Best place to find you, David Itzkovits, LinkedIn. Otherwise, it's Optimal Advisory AI, and you can just chuck that into Google and they will find you. Thank you again so much for your time and look forward to chatting again in the future.
Yeah, and just one small correction, it's Optimal Advisor AI. So if you want to reach out to me,
Ah,
my last name is Itzkovits with an I, so David I at optimaladvisorai.com.
beautiful. Thanks so much, Dave. We'll talk soon.
Thanks for having me today, Daniel. Great being here. Thanks.